Money, consumption, status, and power have long driven our culture's pulse. They've shaped our motivations, our behaviors, and our beliefs. But what happens when we give art the same influence? Writers, designers, musicians, photographers, videographers, and the world's most creative minds have the power to heal us, challenge us, and guide us back home to ourselves. In their hands and through their crafts, we find a new world, one where art is a catalyst for powerful change, where self-expression, human connection, and deep empathy are the world's richest assets. This is Art is the New Wall Street, with your host, Morgan Short.
Hey, artists and creatives, welcome back to Art is the New Wall Street. It is a pleasure to welcome Katherine Pomfret to the show today. Katherine left her global head of marketing job in the tech world to embrace makership and creative writing, van life, hospitality work, community management. And she has since created the Society of Alternative Entrepreneurs, which I'm excited to talk with her about today. And through that work together with her founders, she's helping people who want to leave unfulfilling careers and build lives that actually mean something to them. So, Katherine, it is so great to see you.
Hi. Thanks for having me. This is like the first time someone has asked me to talk about alternative entrepreneurialism. I talk about it all the time, but it's the first time someone's actually said, hey, like, come on a podcast, talk to us in details. What an amazing group of people to be talking to, people who are already interested in expressing their artistic and creative sides and having all these like conversations about the impact of capitalism on our lives. So I feel this is like the people I want to connect with.
Yeah, you're the exact person I want to connect with as well, because that's kind of how this whole Art is the New Wall Street started for me personally. And then I started looking at just how I was raised, how I was nurtured, what my definition of success was, right?
Yep.
And it was like dollar, get your money, get promoted, do as much as you possibly can. And then I was like, I want to make art. I want to be creative. I want to live an artful, artistic life. And so I've been kind of on this unwiring journey around all of the definitions of success, the way that I've built my life around my career. So anyway, it's so great to have you, Katherine.
It's so cool. And yeah, I mean, that already, this is something that we talk about a lot, the need to reprogram ourselves and kind of rewire our brains. We talk about undoing inherited narratives. And our parents love us and loved us and want what's best for us. And so do our teachers and so do our first bosses. But they teach us a lot of things that maybe weren't ever true, but definitely aren't true in terms of what we're seeing now, how the corporate world has changed in the last 20 years. I started off in 1999. Nobody's paying more, nobody's giving more benefits, nobody's caring more. It's this kind of decline. And then we've got the rise of automation, data, which is used to render human interpretation unnecessary anymore, which is a really scary thing and a really unfulfilling thing, Ben, for you when you're in the role. So all of these things take time. What is success? What makes me happy? What makes me safe? Who should I be connecting with? All of these are things that we have these quite fixed ideas about that aren't serving us.
So good. I want to start with a little bit of your story around what was happening in your life when you decided, when this kind of all unraveled, because you used to be in marketing and you used to be in this world. So can you just share a little bit about what made you decide to leave? What was happening in your life then? Where were you at? Like, bring us back to that mindset.
So like 100% of marketeers, I got into marketing because I thought this is a way for me to express my creativity, use my love of words, aesthetics, concepts, and get paid. And I sort of did a deal with myself like age 21, which is okay, it's not perfect, but I need to earn a living, and then I'll just have hobbies. And again, that's something we talk a lot about with alternative entrepreneurialism, the idea that we have a work self and then a real self that is separate, that we get to be for a fixed number of hours, which is crazy. So I did really well in marketing because I'm empathetic, I'm a people pleaser, I can write, I work hard, like every head of marketing. And so I was head or director of marketing for about the last 10 years of my career, mainly in the tech sector. And I was so unhappy. I was earning a lot. I was so unhappy, and that was showing. I was behaving erratically. I was drinking too much. I was not sleeping enough. I would either exercise like mad, or I'd not. So my weight was fluctuating, and I was screaming unhappiness. But the promotions kept coming, the headhunters kept coming, because I was kicking it at work. And it's hard when we're doing well at something it's this cognitive dissonance. Everyone's telling me I'm doing an amazing job, that I'm a born marketeer. That phrase gets used a lot, doesn't it? Born marketeer. No one's born a marketeer. No one is born to sell people other people's ideas. So I was just cycling through jobs. I quit probably 6 head of marketing jobs in 3 years. But then I also just got another job, because I was just like, I'd analyze it. This is what's wrong with this situation. This is what's making me unhappy. This is what's frustrating me. And it's the same issues that we all face. Feeling undervalued, financiers trying to run the whole company, expressing opinions on marketing strategy when they only even look at marketing strategy for 2 hours in a 12-month period. And they're trying to just match it to all their other businesses, this sort of helicopter view. And I get another job. And then in the end, I had this awful recruitment process. I say awful, it was just like all the other ones. And I just went, no, I've got it. It's not the wrong job. It's the wrong career. It's not the wrong industry. It's the whole kind of capitalist structure that I am not feeling. And it's a massive vote for myself. And I got the line like, oh, so you're giving it all up then? My mum said, so you're just throwing everything away? No, it's a vote in yourself that I, just like everyone listening, have unique gifts and talents. And it is my moral duty to put those in service of my values, of values that matter. And our values might all be different in terms of, where we lie on the political spectrum, what causes motivate us and impassion us. But if you are not putting your talents in service of those values, what a massive waste. And we do this sort of deal with ourselves, which is another inherited narrative, that if we just do this for 40 years, then we can do whatever we want. Well, first of all, it won't be 40 years for anyone who's around my generation. I'm 47. I started work at 21. The retirement age will probably be about 71 by the time I hit it. So it's actually 50 years. Might not make it that long. And if I do, what have I got left? My energy level's not going to be at the highest. My cognitive processing, no offense to anyone that's older, but does decline, with age. So yeah, I quit. I moved into a caravan. So I don't have an address. I live by a lake in the middle of nowhere in quite a small caravan. I write, I run the Society for Alternative Entrepreneurs, I make jewellery, so I get income from lots and lots of different places. I do lots of things, and again, that's very much in alignment with something we talk about with alternative entrepreneurialism, which is the idea that you have a job is going out of fashion, and more than that, there's no job in which we can fully express all the different aspects of our personalities and all of our passions. So, in line with what's sometimes called the portfolio human movement, it's this idea that we spread our energies, we use different passions, and we live a richer life as a result, instead of this really binary opposition between work self, earns the money, doesn't particularly enjoy it, doesn't serve my values, and then this little kind of other self that gets maybe 2 hours a day or a day at the weekend to come up for some oxygen before we stuff her back into the box.
Oh, I think what you're saying, so many people relate to. If somebody is struggling with this, which a lot of us are, how do you start to do that separation between, hey, I have a work self and that's not my whole identity?
Yeah. I would start with getting very real about corporate culture and what it's like and what it's likely to be like in just 5 years, because that's the biggest block that people have. Just like me, they lose their job, so they try to get another job. They hate their job, so they try to get another job. It's really not ever going to get anywhere other than this cycle. So I think um, one thing that I write a lot about and that I research a lot about is corporate culture, is the impact of where the money is coming from, which has changed, the influence of people like Musk and Zuckerberg in terms of who CEOs look up to, both in terms of their personal style and their morality or value set, and in terms of how they run their teams and how they manage people. So I think just get really, really real about that first, even before you look at yourself, because if you've got that, then any other little fantasies and illusions that you have, this, oh, if I can just be strong enough, if I can just hold on, if I can just do 5 more years, become harder to sustain, and it motivates us to act. So I'd say that first of all. And then the second thing I do is address any trauma. So a lot of members of the Society of Alternative Entrepreneurs, and when I founded it, it was called Unplugged Ambition at that point. A lot of people coming, maybe like a quarter to a third of members had actual trauma from being laid off, from racial or sexual orientation related discrimination, or from stress, burnout, people suffering from insomnia, people vomiting several times a week before meetings. So I think you need to work through that immediate trauma so that you feel safe to go a little bit deeper and do some of the deeper work. And then things that we'd look at, so we have 12 focus areas, and it doesn't really matter where you start with them, and some will be more important to others, but we talk about re-examining attitudes to money. We talk about relationship building. We talk about learning and getting into the habit of being a learner and understanding what learning is, which is not getting another certificate from Coursera or somewhere else online, or you see this on LinkedIn. So and so's got another certificate, and it kind of always desperately screams of unhappiness to me, and not much else, which is perhaps rather mean of me. But actual learning to ride a bike, learning to roller skate, learning to bead, learning to crochet, just putting yourself in that position where you are open-minded. Because what we ultimately are trying to do is reconnect with what excites me, what are my passions, what are my values. We did something called the Passions and Values Audit Tool. So we don't like to talk about skills, because as soon as we talk about skills, people put themselves in a box.
Yeah.
Skills and qualifications, we just sort of see this tick list, and we immediately say, I can do this, I can't do that, or I can prove that I can do this, I can't prove that I can do that, and we limit ourselves. So go back to when we were a child. What did we love to do? When was the last time we did it? Why did we stop doing it? And so people have told me it takes them about 3 months to work through the passions and values audit tool, because it's pretty deep and there's some bits that we ask you to give to friends, family, people that know you. And it's about getting excited about yourself again and reminding yourself of all the things that you love doing and that thrill you, and where, you know, time seems to disappear, you just get lost in the joy of it. And we're not at this point trying to think, what can I make money out of? We never ask, what can I sell? Instead, we ask, what do I love doing? And what problem in the world do I most want to put my energies towards solving? Because if we do that, then we know that there's a place for us in the world. If we love doing something and we're trying to solve a problem in the world, you know, we're onto a good thing. Instead of trying to find out, you know, what will someone give me money for? That comes later, of course. There's a part where we have to work out how to change this passion and these values into something of money. But for most people, what they want, people say to me all the time, I'm just waiting for the big idea. And I don't know what they think is going to happen. Like, you know, they're going to have this flash of inspiration. It's going to be something that nobody in the world has ever thought of.
Yeah, I think I'm just waiting for that big idea, or I'm just waiting to have enough money to last me, or I'm just waiting for the right time in the summer, or I'm just waiting for this milestone to happen in my life and then I'll quit.
I'm waiting for the kids to go to college.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? We can push this endlessly down the road.
Yeah.
So that's the first thing to do, is to get in touch with how amazing you are, how much energy you have, how much enthusiasm you have, everything else you can figure out. And that is what's great, I guess, about some of the technologies. You know, for my jewelry business, I literally built an e-commerce website in 2 hours, including setting up all the social media channels, like buying the domain, everything. I mean, when I was in marketing 10 years ago, that would have been a project that lasted months.
Right.
So, you know what I mean? You don't have to worry about the skill side of things, because if you're doing something you love for a cause that matters to you, you're going to figure it out. That's sort of where we start. And then we talk about these 12 focus areas. I mean, another great one to talk about, I guess, is money, because that's the second biggest blocker. And we talk about the concept of enough. A Buddhist monk has a bowl, and for the day they'll have everything they need in that bowl. So it's perfectly possible for humans to live like that. Okay. So, but we don't have a bowl, do we? We have like a diamond ring and a crystal bowl in a lovely apartment surrounded by a lovely garden with a huge car and we still don't think we have enough. So here's 2 ideas we work with, and we've got lots of tools, because this isn't easy. I'm not trying to convince anyone in an hour's podcast, but money equals happiness, we are told, and money equals security. So we run courses to try and just get people to explore those ideas. And it's not a binary. I'm not saying, you know, give away everything you own and go and live in a caravan like I did.
But you did. You did.
I did. So that's, you know, a Buddhist monk can do, like, people can do all kinds of things. And if you need to break that addiction to hoarding, the hoarding of resource, the hoarding of resources for the future, when it is detrimental to the quality of your life. So working with that is quite important. And a lot of that is about finding alternative sources of joy, and just really being more in touch with how we are feeling on a daily basis, and at what points in the day am I happiest. We do things like no spend days. So you have a day you can't spend any money in that day, and it's amazing the sort of things that people do. Because at first, like, I can't spend any money. What can I do? So then they'll just go for like a 2-hour walk on the beach. And afterwards, they'll be like, oh my God, that was amazing. Like, I loved it. What were you going to do instead? I was just going to buy a bottle of wine and some chips and eat them. But this was better. Okay.
Yeah.
So, you know, there is an anti-materialist basis to alternative entrepreneurialism. And I think that's probably the thing that members find hardest. Some have done amazing things, really, changed their lives hugely. With others, there's a huge amount of resistance to that notion. It's probably strongest from Americans, to be fair. But I think also you've got the kind of the healthcare
That's what I was
issue.
just going to ask you about. I think that is one of the biggest things that has been scariest for me in thinking about my future and what I want to do next. And if it were to be doing something like, okay, I need to follow my values and my passions and diversify my income streams and all of that. And the scariest thing that comes up for me is, what about healthcare? What about healthcare? Do you have members in this society that are from the U.S.?
Yeah, about 40%.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So
How big is it?
We're about 200 members.
Okay, great.
So, yeah, I'm not going to just now announce that I've solved this conundrum in my British head for you all, because I haven't. I would say it doesn't just apply in America. We also have members in India, in the Philippines, even in the UK. The way the National Health Service is going, it's certainly not what it was. You can expect very long waits. You can expect a whole host of conditions that will not be treated and you will have to go private for. So it is different in the US, but it's not entirely unique. It goes back to having faith in yourself, I guess. It's not about giving up access to healthcare forever. It is perhaps, so we've got a couple of members who've done different things to access their own insurance or to join like local groups or unions that have helped them to do that. But it's the same with a caravan. I love it, but probably I won't be there forever. I am broke. I am so broke. Quite often when I go out with friends, like they'll buy the drinks, or they'll give me like, oh, I just found this amazing top, I don't need it anymore, here you go. I mean, I am broke, but that's a stage. That's not necessarily alternative entrepreneurialism. Isn't communism or trying to glorify poverty. I guess with the healthcare, it's, can you have enough faith in yourself and your passion and the world that you can lose your safety net for a short period of time? Are you prepared to take that risk? That's another thing that we've put together lots of resources from, using neurobiological research, and it's about our concept of risk. And that's another big reason why people stay in jobs that they hate, because our ability to assess risk accurately, as humans, we have just always been awful at it. That's not a new phenomenon. Humans are really, really bad at assessing risk, and we overestimate the risk of some things, and other things we don't consider at all. So it's getting yourself to that point where, and getting older helps. I was listening to a book last night. I can't remember the name of it. I will message you later. But it's about the first half of your life versus the second half of your life. The first half of your life is about status, acquisition, fitting in, and really and that's fine. But the second half of your life needs to be about something more, really. And it's no coincidence, I'm sure, that if we did an age profile of our members, we sort of have 90% who are between about 44 and 48 years old, because you're entering the second half of your life and you're thinking, do I just want it to be more of the same?
Yeah.
And you don't. And that's not because you fucked up the first half of your life. It's because you had to do that. I can do things now because of everything I learned doing those corporate marketing jobs. And the same with the other members. They're using the skills that they got and the connections they got and the resources that they built up to now be able to address things that really, really matter to them.
this is just like firing me up. Like I can't even, I'm like not still in my seat because I want to earn my gold star. I want to be like great. And I almost like, I equated that success in my career with love. Like, oh, I'm loved and I'm worthy because I am great. And so it's really, it's really an identity crisis in terms of if I don't have my career, what is left of me? If I leave this career, what is left of me? It's that ingrained. It's like, it's it's dirty. It's bad. It's like, Morgan, you are a human first, girl. Holy crap. So,
but I think, and I guess, just being part, my mom is disappointed with me to the point she barely will speak to me.
Really?
Yeah. But I'm happier than ever.
I knew that was coming. I knew that was coming. I was just going to ask you. I was going to say, but you're happier than ever, aren't you?
Yeah. So I think we again, it's the second half of our lives. We aren't the generation anymore that needs someone else's approval. We're the generation who approves or disapproves. Like, so we need to kind of grow up and stop needing so much externally. And the only way to do that is to give. I mean, I give myself so much. I spoil myself. I have so I'm recording this in my friend's house because the internet doesn't really exist in the caravan. It's very dodgy. But I have little posters up that are like, vote Katherine and like team Katherine and things like that, because it helps me when I'm making a decision to be like, wait, is that team Katherine? No, that isn't. That's actually not. If say someone's trying to get hold of me, they want me to do something, I still will get people contact me from the corporate world. Could you do some ghostwriting for me? Could you blah, blah, blah? And I'm like, no, that's not team Katherine. That's helping that person, but that doesn't get me closer. Someone said to me the other day, what are you running from? And I was like, Om Mani Padme Hum. So I'm not towards the heart of the lotus, towards truth. So it's a Buddhist like mantra. I'm not running from something. I am trying to get as far as I can in this life towards the truth. And there are so many distractions. Again, I'll find myself on my phone, I'll watch a little cat video. Before I know it, there's another cat video. Before I know it, 10 minutes is gone. And then again, I have these visual reminders. I have all these kind of mantras. Like, is that getting me closer to the truth? Is that getting me closer to reality? No. So I haven't got time for it. So in one sense, I probably come across as like this crazy hippie lady who lived with a little kitten that she found in the woods in a caravan, and I make little jewelry and I do some waitressing. But on the other hand, there's a real kind of brutality to alternative entrepreneurialism. There's a real sense of urgency and there's a sense of moral duty to it. And I think that's what pulls my heart sometimes when I see people committing to being unhappy or pushing off the decision. And that's the thing. So I completely believe that AI is coming for our jobs. And one of the reasons I believe that is because every time someone posts something on LinkedIn that says, oh, you can tell ChatGPT wrote this, they get 80,000 likes because we're all trying to kid ourselves. That's maybe what ChatGPT is like today. It gets better by the week. I use it a lot, mainly for research, and it gets better by a week. It's coming for our jobs. So that's another way I would put this to people is, if I'm right, I wrote a blog called What If I'm Right?
I'll have to go read that one.
Because you can say, I don't expect everyone to agree with me, but maybe just give 60 seconds to the possibility that I am right and AI is coming for our jobs. then don't you want a head start? Because this is what everybody is going to be doing. Everybody is going to be looking to the human, the community, the handmade, the heartfelt, the things that machines are not going to be able to do. That, you know, that's why I went into hospitality as my kind of like money kicker, because, you know, as a waitress, I am going to be the last to be replaced by AI, because people want that human connection. They want that chat. They want the banter, you know, the crack. And yeah, so if I'm right and AI is coming for our jobs, what are you doing? And do you know what? If you are 60, fine. You can maybe ride this one out and get through to retirement. If you are 45 and you think there are going to be jobs like there were jobs 5 years ago, I don't believe that. And you see it on LinkedIn now in ways you never used to. Open for work. I've been looking for a job for 3 months. I'm 6 months in and I still can't find a job. And these are people who are defining themselves as, you know, content manager. You're not a content manager. You just worked as a content manager. You probably fell into it. You can do all kinds of things, but instead you're just applying for jobs as a content manager. And it's not that I'm not sympathetic. It's miserable being out of work. My brother's out of work at the moment. He's kind of in this situation I'm describing, and it's my own brother, and I haven't convinced him. But yeah, it's there's a lot of wishful thinking.
Yeah. Gosh, I have so much to respond to there, and I don't even know where to start. So I'm going to take us into a little bit of a different place, which is, so last night I was reading some of the reasons for having a manifesto, and then your manifesto itself. So I was hoping to dive into that a little bit and talk about the problems with 2020 entrepreneurialism, like where the term entrepreneurialism comes, speak to the history a little bit there.
Yeah, sure. So originally, in terms of the origins of the word, it's about swimming out and capturing. So swimming out to an unknown area and sort of capturing something and making something. It had nothing to do with profit. It had nothing to do. It was much more creative and much more in a spirit of adventure and exploration. And that's sort of what an entrepreneur was. And we look in the middle of the ages, people like Hildegard of Bingen, in a monastery, doing all kinds of creative things with herb tinctures being sold, and just creating from the natural environment and trying things that came into their heads that met a need that they could see that other human beings had. And what we've sort of worked our way towards is this idea that entrepreneurialism is about profit for the founder or the owner, that then, without catching its breath, leads itself into exploitation of the talents and gifts of others. And it is very, very copycat. So, I mean, we can see this in the world of SaaS, which is where I spent like the bulk of my career. And, you know, everything was like, you know, we're the Uber of X, or we're the Canva of X. And it was just like people would take one task after another or one sector after another and automate. We get this wonderful mantra, like fail fast, or you know, minimum viable product.
Oh, the one that I can't stand lately is do more with less. I'm like,
yeah, I mean that's literally. I mean, imagine saying that. Imagine your mom in the kitchen, and you know you've just told her, like, I come from a big family, so what, you know, actually my 3 brothers are coming and they're bringing their wives as well. And my mum's like, well, I've only got this much chicken, and it's do more with less. I mean, it's nonsense. You would never ever say that
You
in
would
real
never
life.
say that.
You would
That's
never. Yeah. So we get these little mantras. We get this man crush phenomenon, because it is mainly men who look up to people like Zuckerberg and Musk, people who they perceive have made huge amounts of money very quickly and very easily. Now, I don't imagine it was half as easy as they think, but that's what gets valorized. And so the goal now is to build a business and sell it. So you will literally see, I worked for so many startup founders, and I interviewed or consulted with dozens. And all of them would sit me down and say, well, the aim is to sell the business in 3 years. Okay, right. What are you going to do then, personally, if you don't mind me asking? Oh, really? They just wanted to do nothing, make the money, and then do nothing. Yeah. Oh, so you don't like what you're doing then? You know, how crazy is that you form a business just to get out of the business, that your goal in setting up your business is to sell your business and to stop having it. I think it's nuts. And I think this is why so many of those businesses actually fail, because there is no real passion. There's just greed. And there is no
over real people. It's profit over
people.
profit
over, but they're not even serving their own interests.
Yeah.
You know, these people are not in touch with who they are. And that's one reason it's really hard for people like you and me to go to work in the corporate sector. You know, I reported into CEOs for about the last 15 years of my career, and they're very deluded people, leading very small lives. This sounds really harsh, but they really are. They're not leading full and interesting lives. They never go to an art exhibition. They never go to an interesting music concert. They never paint. They are completely creatively dead. And they don't express emotion because there's no place for emotion. I mean, they are zombies. And try working for a zombie and keeping in touch with your own heart and soul. You know, it's difficult. So yeah, so this is going back to entrepreneurialism and where we've got with it. It's become corrupted. It's not what it was.
I want to ask you about this because I was reading another one of your articles last night. One of the things that I've thought a lot about is, just leave and do my own thing, freelance. I want to ask you about that because I know you have a perspective on this.
Yeah, so you must not have stumbled upon this. Either you're just like really setting me up for like one of my favorite things to talk about. Yeah, you're such a good podcast host.
Thank you so much.
We get this all the time, and I did it. Okay, so I did this. So when I first left, I set up as a consultant. I literally set up as a consultant, like to the CEO in the tech sector in SaaS. Like I literally tell myself, I'll have more freedom and I'll have more autonomy and I'll be in control of my own time. The thing is, and the reason I'm against this is just because everyone that I've seen try to do it when they've spoken to me honestly has told me the same thing that I experienced myself. Which is you're still working with the same jackasses. You have even less job security and sense of solidarity from colleagues. You are still working towards the same values that you were before, which are not your own values. You are asked even less for your own opinions and perspectives and given even less opportunity to influence things strategically for the long term, even if you're a consultant in the strategic sphere, which is what I was. And so it's great that people have had that bit of realization that this doesn't work for me, but you're focusing on the wrong things. You're focusing on the surface. You're focusing on, I want to work from home more, or I'd like to have a lie-in on a Wednesdays, or, you know, you're not really looking at what are my values?
Yeah.
And am I using my energy and my talents to serve my values? Or am I using them to serve values which I actually find abhorrent? Which is where I was. And I spent
Yeah.
25 years of my life doing that and kidding myself all the time that, the company I worked for wasn't as bad as our competitors, or the CEO was a lovely, lovely guy, our company was really caring, because I don't know, we got free fruit in the office once a week. Like, I mean, I really set the bar incredibly low. So yeah, I see it time and time again. You see it on LinkedIn every day. Hey, I'm setting up as a freelancer. It actually normally means they haven't been able to find a full-time job. They're getting worried about how to justify being out of work for so long. And or they're not looking at the core issues, they're looking at the surface ones. And what they normally find is there's less and less work to go around. Anyone in content, anyone in copywriting, anyone in graphic design, those industries have been hit massively hard by AI. Most CEOs now won't let marketing teams hire a lot of freelancers. They
Yeah.
will say,
Budgets.
just use this
Budgets.
software.
Budgets cut in half. They're frozen. There's nothing. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
unfortunate. It's unfortunate because I wish that AI would do the very mundane things and not take away the creative part of it all. And
Yeah, like why can't it do the washing up,
yeah.
or
Yeah.
like something actually helpful.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh goodness. So I mean, you did it. I would say, it's not to say that's not an option, right?
It's
Like,
part of the journey. So we use this. It's partly because I love hiking. I walk my whole life. I just walk. I don't get a bus. There's something about walking. It gets my brain going. So we talk about journey a lot. Freelancing can be part of your journey. Okay, you are not. I wish I could say to people, I've absolutely nailed it. Here is an article, read that, off you go. You'll be an alternative entrepreneur by this time next week. I am still learning. I'm getting things wrong. I speak to others like me all the time in the society, and they make little missteps. So going freelance might be part of your journey. We've got quite a few freelancers in the society. I'm not ever anti anything, especially in someone else's life. All I do through the society is speak to lots and lots and lots of people and try and summarize, the generality. And the generality experience of freelancers is it is something that is a step on the way. It's not probably your final destination.
yeah. Last year, I joined this group called Mastermind. Bunch of women. They were really cool. And something happened to me during that experience where I was like really ready to like do this thing on my own. And then I was like, wait, what if it's not marketing? Like, what if it's not, this isn't what the change is about? What if it's more identity driven? What if it's more about my life that I have revolved around my career? This is just another way for me to keep revolving things around my career. I do think that it is the next thing for me, but I've already been thinking about, I literally have in my journal a list of jobs I could do. Like I could be a pickleball coach or a tennis coach. I could go like be at the counter at my gym. I could go be a barista at a coffee shop. Like I literally have a list of things I could do. And I do like writing. Can writing be a skill and a passion and a value? Like, because I love writing. So, and I entered marketing for the same reason you did, Katherine. For the same reason. I was like, this is a practical way for me to apply skills that I'm good at and make good money.
And that's true of so many marketers. And sadly, because even by the age of sort of 13, we didn't think we could be writers or journalists or playwrights. We had already learned from the world that takes luck or connections, and that it's childish to expect to use our true talents in the world. And instead we need to put on a mask.
Ooh, the word childish just gave me like a physical reaction. Let's pause. Childish.
Well, so a lot of what I try and say to people is to go back to when you were a child. What did you love? What did you love doing? Who were you? What was your personality like? Because this corporate gig kind of changes us,
Yeah.
changes how we interact with people, at least. Um, and what we do, what society does is sort of denigrate the child's view of the world and the child's perspective. So that's childish, means it's ignorant, it's deluded, it's unrealistic. But anyone who spends any amount of time with a 6-year-old will tell you they are brutally insightful into many things,
Yeah,
and
they
they
sure
can
are.
destroy you. And actually, a reason a lot of men that joined the Society of Alternative Entrepreneurs, they tell me they joined because their kid said to them, they see something on the news and they'll go, "But Daddy, what are you doing to stop this?" And Daddy goes, "Well, I'm not doing anything. It's terrible, but I'm too busy, doing presentations and working on spreadsheets." And the kid's just like so unimpressed with them. So children absolutely know what they love doing and what they don't love doing. You don't get a meh answer from a child. You give them a choice of two activities, they know which one they want to do. And they're also good at saying what their friends would like, or their brother or sister would like. They know everyone's not the same. This is my bag. That's your bag. I like this. So good for them. They also are absolutely clear on values. They know what's good, they know what's bad, and they don't make excuses in the way that adults do. Well, yes, I know our car gives out a lot of carbon emissions. We need space for all our things in it. A child doesn't really do that. They don't have that sort of ambiguity. So for me, the childlike sense of self-knowledge and an ability not to be drawn into the world, but to remain somehow detached from the world and observant of the world, rather than feel complicit and involved in it, is something that I think we need to do a bit more of.
It's wild to me how it's set up. How it's set up. It felt like my 20s were so much about like get that bag and like work really hard and like conform and like do what is adult. And now
Yeah.
like I've reached this point where I'm like I just want to be a child. I just want to be a child again. Like, and you're right. Children are so, they just know. They're
Yeah.
inquisitive. They just know.
Yeah.
They have this.
And they learn, and they don't have a fit if they can't
Yeah.
do something. They are, that's the other thing you see with adults is you'll get someone, they may be only 30 years old, say 30, I know a few 35-year-old, and they'll say, "Well, I can't do that." And you're like, bloody hell, have you tried? You could be a master at it in 12 months. Whereas a
Yeah.
kid just accepts every day, I'm going to try and do something and it's going to go a bit wrong, but I'm not going
Yeah.
to panic. I'm just going to keep on trying, because I'm totally do not see this as a judgment on myself. I just totally accept that this is what it is like to learn something. And they also have complete confidence that they will learn it eventually. Have you ever met, I don't know, a 3-year-old like in tears? I'm never ever going to learn to tie my shoelaces like my big sister. No, they know my big sister does it, so I'll do it.
As adults, I feel like our relationship with being a beginner is really rough. Like, when was the last time you actually tried something for the first time, and how did that feel for you?
Yeah, and this is why people don't change. So I've been learning jewelry making. So I've learned to be a barmaid. I've learned to be a waitress in the last year. Barmaid, waitress, hotel receptionist, wedding planner, jewelry making. I could do a stand-up comedy routine on the things that I've got completely wrong, but I'm so much better than I was, and I'm enjoying it, and I never want that to stop. This is the thing. It's the whole sunk cost fallacy. That's the term I'm fumbling for. And people do this. I've had this career for 20 years. So if I give it up, what's it all been for? And it's such a weird sort of paper-based view of viewing ourselves as a human being, because here we are meeting and we are experiencing everything that each other has ever been, seen, done, felt, and experienced. We can see it in each other's faces, in our reactions to each other, and in what comes out of our mouths. We are not, a CV is not a piece of paper, and it's definitely not a LinkedIn profile. It's this, that we present. So you don't lose anything by learning something new.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Deep
I'm getting
breath.
so passionate. I said at the beginning, no one's actually ever invited me to talk about alternative entrepreneurialism. So because you have, I think I'm so, it feels so good just to put some of these ideas out there. I'm never trying to persuade, I'm not, jumping up and down at the bit thinking, oh, I want the members all to quit their jobs. So, some of them quit their jobs ages
Yeah.
before I did. But they will kind of post and go, oh, I'm handing my notice in. And we've got someone doing it. Is it Thursday? It's Wednesday today. We've got someone doing it on Friday. We had someone do it 2 weeks ago. And it is like we
It's like
are
a
all
little
like,
celebration.
yeah,
You're out.
yeah, and because they've been quietly beavering away on things, like can see they've been. So this is really interesting, and a lot of people will go through this. I didn't, because I sort of quit, and then I had to figure out what I was going to do. But for most of our members, they'll be going in, doing the work, acting like all in. Yeah, I'm drinking the Kool-Aid, but actually behind the scenes, they're doing all kinds of exciting magic things, and they're just getting it to that stage where they can go, right, I don't need the job anymore, because psychologically, financially, all of these things coming together, I'm going on this. But you are an alternative entrepreneur. To me, you're doing this podcast, so you're doing the corporate job, you're doing this podcast, you're doing your writing, you're doing your freelance. That's what it is.
Yeah.
And over time, it will get like more aligned to your values, maybe by the clients that you take on, and feel like, and you'll get to
Yeah.
know yourself even better. But we're all in that position. So that's the other thing I say, is there is no end point. I'm not sat here like, I am now an alternative entrepreneur. I have no problems in life. I'm a wise woman. Come ask me. I've got all the answers. No, like I am still like figuring that out. With jewelry, I just was learning this week about how stone cutting, so like the business of making a rock into gems that I can work with, is one of the top areas for modern slavery. And so now I've got this whole ethical thing of, I've been sourcing my stones this one way, but I'm not 100% convinced. And so now I'm trying to research how I can buy like direct from cutters in places like India and Sri Lanka and skip out the middleman. And so that's blown up kind of out of nowhere, because it wasn't on my radar. So the journey never stops. I want to be learning and making mistakes right up till the day I die. I'll definitely be making mistakes.
and yeah, it's not going to be some like immediate, drastic overnight flip.
No.
Right. Like I think if I would have had this conversation with you, when you first left marketing, I think it would have been a different conversation. You're you, but you know what I mean? Like me looking at like, oh, can I claim the identity of alternative entrepreneurialism gets me fired up. Like, hell yeah, I want to be in that. I think it would be like kind of a slow, steady shift.
And it is like people, everyone I speak to, it's been 3-4 years. And for me, it's been, it's been at least, 3-4 years of reading all these books, like going, I lived in India, but, going to visit ashrams in India, like learning neuroscience. It's been a long, like, even to get to this point has been a long time. And that's why I call it, it's a philosophy rather. I've not said this before, so I'm thinking, do I mean this? But it's a philosophy rather than a status. So I would say it's
I like
probably better
that.
to say, yeah, like I practice alternative entrepreneurialism rather than I am an alternative entrepreneur.
Yeah, okay, I like that a lot. Like
Yeah,
that a
okay,
lot.
we'll stick with that.
Yeah, yeah. So, obviously, on this podcast, we talk about things that challenge mainstream ideas of career success. That's where the title came from. So, for you and for this movement that you have created and built things around, how do you hope that it changes our cultural conversations around work and purpose and who we are as humans?
I hope that every person can really learn to value and get excited by their own gifts. And I do use the word gift intentionally, because they're things that you haven't had to work at. That's how you know it's a gift. So I can speak German. That was not a gift. that was hours and hours of German lessons. But there are things about us, about our personalities, and things we can do, or the way we do them, that is just inherent. And we tend to undervalue those things because they are so effortless to us. We don't appreciate how unusual they are and the impact that they have on others. And that's a big reason in the passions and values audit that we ask you to go to other people to say, what is really special about this person. So I would hope everyone could feel that. And I would hope that everyone would have clarity as to how they could put at least a chunk of their passion and energy in pursuit of values that matter to them. So many people now are hearing everywhere, they're upset, or they're distressed, or they're depressed because of the state of the world. I read something the other day that said sales of children's toys to adults are booming. Adults are now so distressed, they are buying childhood toys, to cuddle or to play with, board games they had, and I'm not the most sympathetic person, I would say, because other people might say how terrible is it, and I'm just like, why don't you do something then? Because people who are activists are less depressed about the state of the world. They're more optimistic about the state of the world. They might be angrier, but they have energy. They are doing something. And this apathy, which is what it is, to say, it makes me sad, I don't like it, it's also depressing, I feel helpless. That is apathy, is a luxury we do not have right now. So this goes back to the moral duty of it. So it feels wonderful for you to be able to be yourself in the world, be your real self, bring your real passions, work towards your values, and you therefore, everything that comes your way is effortless and exciting. But it also is a moral duty. So it's a win-win.
Do you think it's possible for somebody's, I'm thinking more of like the masculine energy, a lot of like CEO, do you think it's possible for that to be their real selves?
God, that's a good question. So I've reported into CEOs, as I said, for quite a while. So and because of my marketeer, I've often done things like speech writing for them, or I've managed their social media, and they've confided in me a little bit. And I would say they're masking more than anyone. I would say that I have seen the terrified little boy in all of them. And he needs a big hug, or he needs a smack. But Um, yeah. So I don't think, but they're very, very wedded to it. You know,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
not for everyone. This isn't for everyone. Uh, but if you were that kid that was reading books and trying to write books when you were 9 and always doing plays with your friends or setting up mad schemes or setting up clubs at school and trying to get people. If that was you as a kid and you're now head of corporate marketing, well, the world is missing you.
Oh, the world is missing you. I struggle to like remember my childhood. I don't have the greatest memory. So I actually went and asked my mom the other day. I was like, Mom, what did I like doing when I was a kid? And she said, you were always doing projects. You always had these little projects going on. So I'm like, okay. I was like making stuff and up to whatever kind of project I wanted to do. So that's a clue. So I have that piece of practical advice for people. If you can't remember what you enjoyed, you could ask your parents and see if they remember, or ask your siblings.
And the other good thing about that, so I'm just worried that my phone is going to die, so I'm just looking to plug it in.
Okay,
The
yes.
other thing that's great about that is we talked right at the beginning about this pressure we feel from our parents, whether it comes from them, whether we kind of invent it, to make the safe choices, to do the high status things. Asking your parents that question very often triggers a nostalgia in them and an appreciation in them, a verbalized appreciation for your innate talents. That can be very healing. So I talked about my mom before. So let's be absolutely fair. I had one conversation with her right before I quit. I was crying my eyes out, telling her all these stories I'd not told her about how awful it is doing this job. And she said, and I always thought my mum was so impressed with me. And she said, I was very surprised when you did this. I always thought you'd teach drama to children and you'd never earn very much, but you'd be sort of happy. But that's not what you did. And I was like, I was 46 at this point. Why have you never said that? Do you know if you'd said that to me? What power? So anyway, I'm fine, but to other people, have that conversation with your parents. It all kinds of things can happen. I'm so glad you raised that, Morgan, because it's really powerful.
We're coming up to the end here. I feel like I could talk to you all day. So I'm excited to continue convos in your community.
I'm just going to call you.
Yeah, I'd love that. I'd love that. So for listeners who are inspired by this, who are thinking about making, a transition and have realized that corporate or whatever they're doing isn't for them, what's one piece of wisdom to leave them with, to start living their life, pursuing their life driven by passion and values?
Oh, go for a walk. Don't take any music. Go for a walk in nature that is at least 2 hours long. Ideally 4 hours long. Go for a 4-hour walk without headphones. That's it. Whenever I have a decision to make, I hike a mountain, and this phone is going to die. Sorry.
As you just heard, Katherine's phone died just as we were wrapping up the show. She wanted to share that personally, if she ever has to make a decision, she hikes up a mountain, and by the time she gets to the bottom, the decision is clear without her ever having consciously thought it. Exercise reduces our cortisol and boosts serotonin and endorphins so we can make decisions from a happy place. You can find the society at societyofalternativeentrepreneurs.com and follow it on Instagram. You can also find Katherine on LinkedIn, and you can buy her book, Just Make It Pretty, 528 Things You Didn't Know Were Your Job as a Marketer, on Amazon. It was so great to have Katherine on the show. She has some important things to say and has created a really cool community over at the Society of Alternative Entrepreneurs. If you feel called to do so, I definitely encourage you to go check her work out. And that's all for this episode. Keep creating. Your art is a gift to you and the world. Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of Art is the New Wall Street. If you liked what you heard today, give our show a follow or subscribe wherever you listen to your podcasts. You can find us on social media or at artistthenewwallstreet.com. Keep creating, and we'll see you next time.